Hello and welcome to another episode of the Industrial Real Estate Show. I'm very excited for this week's guest as I've been following him on YouTube for a while. His name is Benjamin Dennehy, and he's branded himself as the UK's most hated sales trainer. And I've consumed a ton of his content, and I genuinely believe he's the best sales trainer and cold caller I've ever come across. You're going to see why as we jump into this, where we just talk about cold calling, how you can get past gatekeepers, how you can get a conversation started with a decision maker, some of the things that you want to include in your conversation, and just the entire process from start to finish of getting a meeting. And I think you're going to find this really insightful if you're in the industrial, commercial real estate space, or even if you're just in sales in any capacity. What he trains and teaches about is applicable across numerous different industries. So I think you're going to really enjoy this. Let's jump into it. Hey, Benjamin, thanks so much for taking the time to jump on the call with me.
It's my pleasure, Chad. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's good to be here.
Well, you're the UK's most hated sales trainer, and now you're talking on the other side of the pond here. I know you've done a lot of interviews in the UK. Have you done much outside of the UK?
I have, yes. I've done business in the US. I've worked with American companies. I've worked with individual Americans, working with a couple of individual Americans currently in my coaching club. I've worked all over the world: Australia, New Zealand, Middle East, Europe. All over the place. But I'm very fond of the United States.
So what I think is awesome about you having that global perspective is that you're not just talking about cold calling from a UK standpoint. I'm guessing that everything that you're teaching and training on is applicable to people all over the world.
Pretty much. I mean, I always, to hedge my bets, say it definitely works wherever the British Commonwealth has been. So if you're an English native first speaking, then yes. I've worked with, people like French and Spanish and Germans. Now, obviously, there's cultural nuances there. So there are certain things that don't quite, like, for instance, you can't call it a cold call to Europeans because they don't know what the temperature has to do with the call. You see, it's these little nuances where an English cold call, we all know what that means. It's a call out of the blue that you're not expecting. So you have to do these little cultural tweaks. Call it a sales call because they understand sales call. They don't get cold call. So there's these funny little bits and bobs that you have to tweak, but the fundamentals are the same. Yeah.
So I want to get your thoughts on the polarizing opinions on cold calling. So on one end of the spectrum, you might hear someone say that cold calling is dead and you can use social media marketing or influencer marketing. That's on one end of the spectrum. And on the other end, actually, I had this guy that I pulled up on Twitter, his profile. He's at the other end of the spectrum. This is his bio. It says cold caller, hustler, 250 dials before you wake up, blah blah blah, going on about obviously how great of a cold caller he is, and 250 calls before he even wakes up. Where do you put cold calling on that spectrum, from people saying it's dead to people saying they're doing that much?
I don't believe anyone's doing 250 calls before they wake up, unless they're using an auto dialer, right? So no, I'm a true believer in telephone prospecting. Not because I necessarily believe it is the most efficient way of getting in front of people. We have social media, we have LinkedIn, we have all these various tools available to us, and all of them are good in their own way, in their own right. The reason why telephone prospecting to me is the most important, because it's real time with real people. You don't have the luxury of sitting behind your keyboard, brave and strong keyboard warrior, able to tap out something and then don't delete it and rewrite it and think it and modify it. And you can't do that. When you're cold calling, it's real time, real people. You got to think in the moment. You got to be able to respond, adapt, pivot. And that is part of being a good salesman. And if you can't do that on the phone, you're never going to be able to do it when you meet people face to face, because this is the only free training you're going to get, because prospecting is free. It doesn't cost you anything. But sitting behind a keyboard, sending messages, sending LinkedIn, yeah, it does work. I don't say it doesn't. What I'm saying is it doesn't make you a better salesman. Yeah, it only prevents you being good at it. So that's why I'm so big on prospecting. And I built my business on prospecting. Don't work with them now, but I worked with a company with market capitalization of £1 billion. It was all built on prospecting. So it does work. The people that say it doesn't can't do it.
That's usually the case, isn't it?
Yeah.
Either they can't do it, they don't want to do it, they make excuses on it.
Yeah.
Perhaps they've been rejected too many times and their ego was hurt. What do you
Yeah.
say
It's like dieting doesn't work. No, it does work. You just can't make it work.
Very true. So what do you say to someone that doesn't want to diet or someone that doesn't want a cold call?
Well, stay fat. Yeah. If someone says to me, I don't want to diet, but I want to look good, it's go, well, you can't have it both. You can, in your case, you literally can't have your cake and eat it too. You literally have to put it down if you want to lose weight. Same with telephone prospect. People that moan that they don't have enough business, they're not in front of enough people, they don't earn enough, and all of this crap. Well, do you actually prospect? No. Why not? Oh, I don't like it. Oh, it doesn't work. Oh, and all of the head trash that they have. So no, I don't like listening to salespeople that moan and whinge about their circumstances, because this is probably one of the few jobs where you completely control your circumstances. So if your circumstances suck, it's you that's the problem, not the rest of the world.
Well said. When you're coaching or training sales agents, and in our case, the podcast is about industrial real estate. We talk to a lot of our audience are real estate agents. So if you had a training a real estate agent or someone was saying that we want to increase our business, we want to start prospecting, do you dip your toe into cold calling, or is it something that you got to commit to a regiment and have consistency in doing a certain amount over time?
Yeah, you have to have consistency, like with anything. It's like going to the gym to lose weight. You can't do it every now and then. You have to have a whole regime. And going to the gym is part of losing weight. It's not just going to the gym. You have to change your diet. You have to change habits and other behaviors. Prospecting is the same. It's not just picking up the phone and saying the same rubbish over and over again. It's calling at the right time, knowing what to say, knowing how to interact and engage with people, getting a structure that works and repeating it so you get better and better and better and better and better at it and finesse it. A little bit often is what I say. Too many people set the trap of saying, I'm going to do prospecting this week. I'm going to set aside Thursday afternoon and I'm going to hit the phones. Now, within half an hour, they've given up, right? Yeah. But what I say is, look, don't do that. Set aside maybe half an hour, 45 minutes every day, 5 days a week, and do it. Get it out of the way. 8:30 in the morning till 9:30. That's when decision makers are in the office. They get in there early. Successful people are always in the office early. Yeah. So phone early. Do up to an hour a day. Set yourself a minimum target of who you want to talk to. So I never worry about dials. I worry about conversations with decision makers. So my target would be, I wanted to talk to 4 managing directors a day. That could take 4 dials, could take 40 dials, could take 400. I had no control over how many dials it took. All I knew was once I had my 4, I was done. That's it. Move on and do something else for the rest of the day. That's why I got it out of the way. 8:30 to 10 a.m. Get it done. Move on.
Yeah, that's great advice. And then it's in your calendar. It's something that you just do the same way that you would go to the gym, or the same way that you'd have lunch, or whatever it is. I think that that's great advice on that.
It is. Whenever someone says, I don't have the time to do this, what they mean is it's not a priority. No one's ever not found the time to go on holiday. No one's never not found time to go to the cinema or go out with their mates, yeah, or have their cigarette break. But some reason they can't find the time to do something they don't want to do. What are the odds?
Well, you mentioned the structure. It's important having a system and procedure on how you're going through this. So that's a good spot to jump into. You've got a list of people that you're going to call. And I know you're opening because I've consumed a lot of your content. But what are you typically saying to people when you get them on the phone? And I'm assuming we can start with your talking to the actual decision maker, and perhaps we could talk about if you get to the gatekeeper separately. When you get the decision maker on the phone, how do you start that conversation?
Right. So I use something that's known as a pattern interrupt. Pattern interrupt, people know what they are. I mean, when I first started talking about pattern interrupts, I think it was about 2016 on LinkedIn, a lot of people said I was stupid, I was talking nonsense. And still I started filming myself doing it and people seeing it working. Now, doesn't a day go by where someone on LinkedIn, some SDR, hasn't come up with a new deviation. So a pattern interrupt is if you phone up someone and just the phone rings and they answer and they go, hey, how are you? I'm good. Hey, this is Barry at ABC Company. How are you today? instantly the prospect knows this is a sales call, yeah, and you set off little scripts in their head that are ready to go. Oh, I'm fine, thanks. I'm not interested. You've caught me at a bad time. I'm just about to go on a meeting. You trigger these reactions. So you want to do something that's going to snap them out of that pattern. That's why we call it interrupting the pattern, a pattern interrupt. So what I would do, and I still do, and the one probably the most successful pattern interrupt I use is particularly at decision maker level. You're talking managing director, business owner. I go in and I'm directly up front. I say, look, I'll be up front. This is actually a sales call. So do you want to hang up or let me have 30 seconds and then decide? Now, two things happen. You either get a chuckle, which is more common than not, actually, when you get good at it. Most decision makers quite like it. I quite like this, very honest, to the point. All right, I'll give you 30 seconds. Or you get some that outright say, no, I'll hang up. It's fine. I never get upset if someone hangs up, especially if I said you can hang up. This is the other reason I do it. Because when people hang up on you and you haven't told them they can hang up on you, you have that happen to you over and over again, it starts to hurt. It starts to feel like there's something wrong with you. So everything I do is designed to take all the pressure off of me. So if they hang up, I don't care. I'll call back, actually, if people hang up and say, I think we got cut off. Yeah, you got nothing to lose, right? I mean, you can't make this any worse, right? So you got to have fun with it as well. So pattern interrupt, but there are numerous different types of pattern interrupt, and you can have different ones for different sectors. Like recruitment, for instance, everybody hates recruiters. Yeah, the moment they hear, is this about recruitment? So I would open with, I'll be upfront if I told you this was about recruitment, would a little piece of you die? You know, and you'd hear them go, oh, yes. And so now what we've done is actually, we've got them to a point where we can have a bit of a chat. And I go, well, look, before you hang up, can I ask one last question? Yeah. Why does everybody do that? And then they vent for like 30 seconds about how much they hate sales calls. But by the time they finish venting, they actually feel good. And then you say, well, look, if I promise I won't sound like the other lot, will you give me my 30 seconds? And I couldn't believe how many people say, oh, go on then, you already sound different. So it's sounding different. It's acting different. So if you want to be treated differently, you have to act differently. It's a long answer.
I love it. I've heard you say that a number of times, and I love it every time that you say, because I think it's brilliant. In our business, quite often we'll either be talking to companies or we'll be talking to property owners. And would you open with a similar type of message to both, or could you say something to the effect, if you're calling an owner, could you say, hey, be upfront with you, I'm a real estate agent, do you want to hang up or let me have 30 seconds? That be an effective message?
I think so. I mean, I don't know how loath real estate agents are. I mean, are they bottom feeders like most salespeople? Do they have a good reputation?
I would say positive in the commercial and industrial side. It's positive, but that's still a sales call.
Yeah, it is a sales call. So the easiest way to build trust and bond with a stranger is disarming honesty. And disarming honesty is your best weapon. So whenever you phone up and say, look, this isn't a sales call, it's a research call. It's like, whatever. Yes, I know, no, it's not. I know, no, that's not true, right? So you're already building a barrier between us. So yeah, if I was doing real estate, I'd be phoning up. I'll be upfront. This is actually cool about real estate. You probably don't want to talk to a real estate agent right now. Fair? Or whatever. But yeah, go in. And if people say, well, I don't really have any property I want to sell, and then depending on what I'm calling for and what I'm doing, I'll have a response to that. But yeah, go in with it. But it's better than phoning up saying, hi, it's Benjamin from ABC Realty. How are you today? Yeah.
Which I bet
mean, you can do that. You do that enough times and people will let you speak. But you're making your life harder. And you're not paid enough to make prospecting harder. Trust me.
And I'm guessing 99% of brokers or agents or salespeople are leading with that call. Hey, it's Benjamin of ABC Realty. How are you doing today? How's your day going? It's probably some iteration of that. And they're getting inundated with calls like that too.
Yeah, and everybody lies, because whenever you ask somebody, how are you doing or how's business, they always say, fine, good. Yeah, no one ever says, well, do you want to know the real truth? Oh, I'm struggling. Oh my God, it's just killing me. No one does that, right? So what's the point of asking a question to which you don't really care for the answer either? I mean, what if someone were to say, I'm fucking miserable, I'm thinking about killing myself? Well, I'm sorry to hear that. So anyway, the reason I called was straight back into it.
Just robotic. Yep.
It is robotic. It's disingenuous.
So what happens if you do get the gatekeeper? So you're trying to get through to the director, someone's in between.
Well, the challenge that most people have with getting through to gatekeepers is either they're rude to them or they're too weak. Now, a gatekeeper has two functions: always put through the right call, never put through the wrong call. And it's so, in order to get put through as the right call, I kind of have to sound like the person I'm trying to get a hold of. Now, I primarily teach that you should only phone at director level. You should only be going to the top. Yeah, everyone loves to call low because it's easier. They think it's easier, but actually, you're not achieving much by talking to people that can't make decisions. So it's a waste of time. So you want to talk to decision makers. And you think, what do most people that are successful, that run businesses, what do they sound like? They tend to be short, sharp, clip, to the point. Yeah, they're not phoning each other. You don't hear MDs phoning other MDs going, "Hi, it's Benjamin, managing director of ABC. How are you today?" You know, that's not what they're like. They're not happy, clappy, tigger on speed. They're quite they're very confident in themselves. They're a 10 out of 10 on the self-esteem scale, but they're also smart enough to know they don't know everything. And they'll listen to someone. So with a gatekeeper, I have to sound like their boss. And what does he sound like? Assertive, but not rude. Yeah. So when you hear salespeople get to a gatekeeper and they say, "Put me through to Benjamin," that's rude. And what you'll do is you will hook the person you're talking to, the gatekeeper. Inside, they have what we call a rebellious child. That rebellious child does not like to be told what to do. So when you say, "Put me through to Benjamin," their little kid says, "Fuck you." Right? And then you end up having a fight with the gatekeeper. I mean, that's why I say, I'll be upfront as a sales girl. Do you want to hang up? I'm deliberately trying to poke the decision maker's rebellious kid. He says, "Don't you tell me what to do." Yeah, so it's part of the psychology. So with a gatekeeper, I can't do that. I can't go out of my way to pick a fight with it. So what do? I ask a question, because everyone's been programmed to answer questions, even gatekeepers, even CEOs, from the moment you're born. So the first thing I do is, "Benjamin's not in the office today, is he?" Now they have to answer. And they always do. They say, "Yes, no, he's in a meeting, he's not in today, or he's dead, or he's left the company." Those are pretty much the range of answers you will get to that question. I know them all. So none of them can surprise me. If they say he's left the company, I go, "Get the hell out of here." "How long ago was that?" And they go, "Oh, I don't know. It must be 6 months." I go, "It cannot be 6 months since I spoke with him." They go, "Well, it must be." I go, and then I make up a name. I go, "Well, I take it Robert took over." Now, because it's wrong, they go, "No, no." And often they correct you. "It was Brian that replaced him." I go, "Brian Wilson, right?" "No, Smith." I go, "Why did I say Wilson?" Go, "I don't know." I go, "Can you tell Brian it's Benjamin then?" Yeah. So always act like I belong. I always act like I know. I never say I know the person. I act like I know the person. If they say he's not in, I go, "Well, when are you expecting him back?" He should be in next Thursday." I go, "That's right. He's on holiday this week, isn't he?" They go, "Yes." I go, "He did mention it to me when we spoke." "So what time Thursday?" And I do all of this to extract the information. I always sound like I know what's going on, that it's my fault. "You're right. I knew he was away today. Why am I calling?" Yeah. Yeah. And that's how I do it. So it's to sound like I belong. So Richard's not in the office today, is he? Yes, he is. "Great. Tell him it's Benjamin. Thanks." "Oh, will he know what it's about?" I go, "He better." It's really hard to have a comeback to "he better." Yeah, because what do you do now? The gatekeeper thinks, do I have a fight with this guy? What do I do? I'll let my boss deal with it, right? Now, as long as she or he phones through, I've got past the gatekeeper. Doesn't mean the guy's going to take it. Who the hell's Ben? I don't know anyone called Benjamin. Go find out who he is, yeah? That can happen. But what I've done is I haven't let the gatekeeper make the decision for the decision maker. So what I teach doesn't get me through 100% of the time. If I said that, don't believe me, because that would make me a liar. But it works about 90% of the time. Some gatekeepers are really good, though. Yeah, no one gets past. None shall pass, because they know. No, 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 no. If you're not scheduled in my boss's diary, then he's not expecting you. Yeah, that can happen. But that's like at really, really, really big organizations, Fortune 500 sort of stuff. Most of us aren't phoning at that level. And if you are, then you have to figure out how to get to them.
So you get through, you have that opening about just being upfront with them, telling them it's a sales call, asking if they want to hang up, or like you have 30 seconds. They
30
say,
seconds.
well, sure, you got 30 seconds. What are you saying in that 30 seconds?
What you've got to do is you've got to talk about what you fix in a way that they'll be able to relate to in their world. You see, the problem most salespeople have is they love to talk about what they do, how they do it, and why they do it. We help companies improve their bottom line by inserting blah, 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 blah. And as you're listening to this, you're thinking, doesn't sound like me, or not interested, or we got that already covered. Because you've not said anything that hooks me. So you've got to hook people in their world. You've got to sit down before you begin prospecting, say to yourself, right now, there's 100 people within 50 miles of me that have problems we fix. And they're bitching and moaning about them. What are they saying right now? What are they bitching and moaning about that we fix? And they're not using any of our marketing spiel, because nobody talks in marketing spiel. They talk in real world. So when I phone CEOs, I don't phone up and say, hi, my name's Benjamin, I'm a sales trainer, and I help companies improve their bottom line by systemizing their sales approach by blah, blah, blah. I could waffle. No, we're fine. So I think if I was the owner of a company and I had a sales team, what would be pissing me off about these guys? What do I hate about salespeople? I'll tell you what I hate. They're fucking lazy. They're never on the phone. They spend all their time farting about on LinkedIn and social media, researching. Why don't they just pick up the phone like I did to build the business before the internet, with yellow pages and all of that? So that's what's pissing them off. So that's what I phone up and talk about. I work with a lot of CEOs. They got great salespeople, but if they're honest, they're frustrated that they don't pick up the phone, or they're reluctant or not motivated to pick it up. And they go, yeah, I can relate to that. So that's what I have to do. I have to talk about what I fix in language that they'll understand, not phone up and market at them what I do, because nobody cares about you or your business. What everybody cares about is, well, what can you do for me? What's in it for me? And why would I be interested in wanting to talk to you? And that's got nothing to do with your story. It's all about their story.
I've heard you describe it before as a doctor who's treating patients that have symptoms. And I think far too often salespeople think that they should be able to sell everybody. Like that one guy on Twitter who makes 250 calls a day, he probably thinks he can sell everybody. But in reality, a doctor is not going to treat someone if they don't have symptoms. So you're specifically looking for people that have some of those symptoms, that's someone that you can help.
Yeah. So we say, so you draw your prospecting list and you say, we've identified companies that at some point in their business cycle are going to suffer from one or all of these problems. We're trying to find the people that right now, today, in that list, recognize those problems. Doesn't mean the people on the companies that we've all put on the list are all going to have them at the same time. They're going to have them at different times. So I phone up someone and they say, I don't recognize any of those. Well, I don't get into a fight with this. Well, you bloody should. What the hell's wrong with you? You should have these symptoms. I mean, we know we've profiled your company and you should. It's like, no, I don't recognize them. So fine. But the next guy I phone up and I say exactly the same thing. He goes, yeah, I recognize that. And I'm after that person. I'm not trying to get in front of everybody that I could sell to. I want to get in front of people I can sell to. And that's what prospecting's about. Otherwise, you're literally going to try to meet with every human being that can breathe. And that's pointless. I want to get in front of people. So that's why I use the doctor analogy. If I had the cure for COVID, I only want to sell it to people with COVID. How do I know if you got COVID? Well, these are 3 symptoms, A, B, and C. Of course, those 3 symptoms could also be cancer. They could also be some other ailment. I don't know, but if you have these 3 symptoms, it's probably worth us having more of a chat. And then at the end of that chat, I'll know if you have COVID, and we talk about the product, or actually, no, you got something worse than COVID, mate. I can't help you. Yeah. So that's what it's about. It's not about getting in front of anybody. It's not about educating. People think prospecting is about educating. It's not about educating. It's about finding people with symptoms that you can fix and finding out if those symptoms are big enough and deep enough and worth fixing. That's what it's all about.
I'm guessing there's a lot of sales people out there who could get meetings, and maybe they just call up and maybe they do have an awkward introduction about who they are and their company and asking people how their day is. And they probably, if like you said earlier, if you make enough of those calls, eventually blind squirrel finds a nut kind of thing. You'll eventually get people to do it. Now, but people will also set up meetings, and then next thing you know, they'll cancel the meeting because they're like, "Ah, why did I agree to make this meeting?" And they have to cancel something. You're the first person that's getting canceled. How do you try to increase your chances that? So you've gone through this, you've identified, you've gotten through, you've had a conversation with them, they've identified that they have a symptom, something that you might be able to fix. You're not sure yet, but you think you can. How do you get them to establish that a meeting is not just something that they can do, but something that they should do and they're going to commit to doing?
Right. So the main reason meetings tend to be ghosted, is the modern term, or people just do no-shows, is because they never, ever really wanted to do it in the first place. They were badgered or bullied into it or pressured into it by a salesman, desperate to get an appointment in the diary to hit his target. Oh, look, so I promise, I guarantee it'll be the best 30 minutes you've ever spent. We're going to be in the area. Look, I won't take it. Fine. Yeah. So, and they under duress, they say yes. But the moment they hang up the phone, they don't even think about you. It's not as even as they consciously go out of their way not to meet you. It's just like, fuck, that's over, right? And then they get on with the rest of their life. Yeah, so that's what happens. So, and the problem most salespeople have is they don't know what the purpose of a prospecting call is. They always ask us, what is the purpose of prospecting? And you get a range of answers. You get to get a meeting, to get an appointment, to make a sale, to find pain, to educate, to understand. No. Those are all outcomes. What's the purpose? What are you actually trying to do? And what we're trying to do is get someone a little bit emotional about whatever it is that we fix. Because people buy emotionally and justify intellectually. So if people buy emotionally, the journey has to start. So I've got to phone someone up that's sitting at their desk, happy as Larry, eating a sandwich, not even thinking about the things that I fix. And within the space of 8 minutes, I've made him feel, fuck, well, when you put it like that, yeah, all right. Maybe we should have a chat. I mean, I don't know if it'll go anywhere. No, nor do I, sir. But it sounds like there could be something there that's worth exploring. All right, fine. And I ever give them a chance to bow to whenever I get a meeting. I go, oh, actually, one last thing before you hang up. Yeah, I said, you're not going to hang up the phone and think, oh, my goodness, what have I just done? I booked a meeting with a sales trainer, eh? And they'll go, no. I go, why not? No, I'm genuinely, Benjamin. I think it's going to be a worthwhile meeting. I'm looking forward to it. It eliminates dropouts because I'm not scared to go for a no. So the purpose of a prospecting call is to get someone emotional. The outcome of doing that is a meeting. So I don't focus on outcomes. I focus on how I get there. And if I master the art at learning how to get someone emotional, the outcomes will be what I want. Focus on what matters, not vanity.
So in that, and I've heard you describe it, that starts off intellectual because if you're talking at that level, they're thinking very strategically, and then you're trying to get them emotional, and then you're trying to get them to justify that by using their intellect. During that, getting them at that emotional stage, is that just asking them the questions, trying to hit those pain points, seeing if they actually have some of those symptoms that they said?
You've got to take them on a journey, and the journey is leading them. I trained as a barrister, you say an attorney in the United States, right? And good lawyers take their witnesses and interview when they're cross-examining, and they just walk the witness to the cliff, and then they just gently push them and they fall off, and they get them there with their questions. And we're the same. My job is to slowly get someone to feel. I'm not looking for tears, I'm not looking for all of that. I'm looking for enough where they go, you get that little sigh, and that's when you've gone from intellect to emotion. And you can do that through your question. So when someone picks one of the symptoms, well, no, Benjamin, I can recognize they're not picking up the phone bit. Then I go through a series of questions. Well, help me out. When you say they're not picking up the phone, just so we're on the same page, can you give me an example of what you mean? And they go, yeah, sure. I've got like 15 guys in the office, and they've got everything they need at their fingertips, but they just, for whatever reason, they avoid the phone. They'd rather send an email. And then I drop in a note. I go, well, that must be frustrating for you. Yeah. We're slow. Yeah, okay, so tell me this thing. When did you first recognize this was a problem? How long has this been going on? Well, it's been going on for the last year. I go, that's a long time. You sure it's a problem? Then I deny their pain, and then they fight for it. No, it is an issue. Well, have you done anything to try and fix it? Yeah, well, we've changed their commission structure. We've offered incentives. I got to take it. I'm like, well, that must have worked then. Well, no. Sorry, I missed that. No, make him say no twice. Yeah, it's all these little subtle things. I'm slowly getting them to feel this. And a few more questions like that. It's only like 6 questions. And then eventually I go, can I ask you a personal question? And I say, yeah. Then I sum up every answer they've given me preceding that. So how does it make you feel knowing you got these sales guys that you pay to come in, and despite increasing their commission and offering incentives, that over the past year, it still hasn't resulted in a change and it's probably costing you money? I say, how does that make you feel? Yeah. Not the best. I think it's the last question. I go, have you given up trying to fix it? Well, no, that's why we're talking. Yeah, and that's it. I got him. But that doesn't happen on every call. People seem to think this should happen. This can't happen on everyone. This can only happen on someone that recognizes a symptom. That's what I try to get to people. Say, yeah, but I tried to do it, but did they have it? No. So you can't get someone emotional if they haven't even said I recognize any of the issues, because it's the issue that I embellish on. That's my job. And I just want to find out, do you have a problem? Have you tried to fix it? Did that fix work? Has it cost you any money? Does it make you feel a bit pissed off? And have you given up trying to fix it? If I get those 6 things, I'm willing to come and spend more time with you. And at the end of that meeting, I'll know if this problem's big enough for us to do work together. Or it may turn out it's not big enough. It's not even, worth anybody's time to fix. That's my job.
Yeah, and it's methodical. Like you're, and I know where you got to go here in a minute, but I love just how it's a system that you have, from setting up the time to do it every day, whether it's a half hour or an hour and a half, just to talk to as many people as you want to talk to the whole system of getting to that meeting. There's so much more involved than what a sales guy might just think is that call someone up and I just try to make a meeting.
The problem with salespeople is, first of all, the barrier to entry is so low, it's almost impossible not to get admitted into sales. If you can string a sentence together and not dribble during the interview, you're pretty much qualified to become a salesperson. Definitely into real estate, right? If he looks all right in a suit, he seems nice, let's give him a shot. That's how most people get into careers. Someone said, he looks all right, he talks a pretty good game, let's give him a shot, right? So the barrier to entry is so low. And we don't, if you look at a professional golfer or any professional athlete, there's not a lot to what they do, but they do some really good stuff really well. So Tiger Woods could spend 6 hours perfecting one stroke. Salespeople don't do that. It's too boring. But this is it. Be an expert, to be a professional, you get really good at doing the fundamental basics really, really well. You do it so well. Your technique is brilliant. How you hold the club, how you have your hips where you play. All of that on its own seems triflingly stupid. But when you get all those individual components working well, and each one takes practice, then the whole swing works. And that's a constant practice. You don't just do it once. I've got it. You still got to practice in between matches. Yeah, they don't just rock up at every game having done nothing in between tournaments. They're out there practicing. They're out there following the dart, following the regime, doing the non-stop until they decide, one day, I don't want to do this anymore. That's when you get to take your foot off the pedal. Salespeople don't do that. So then prospecting is an interruption. It's annoying. Most people don't like them. I don't really think they work. So why the fuck would I ever learn how to get really good at doing them? So I'm just going to do my bit. I'm going to go through the motions and let the chips fall where they land or whatever. Yeah. And that is not a professional approach, but this is why selling isn't a profession. It's full of carpetbaggers. Most people in sales don't even want to be there. Yeah. They're waiting for something better to come along. Problem is, if you found yourself in sales, nothing better is coming along.
Well, and it can be a very, very lucrative career for somebody that does it right. There's the
guy for the top 20%, it's brilliant.
Mm-hmm. But
the other 80% is a miserable life. Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm such a fan of yours, is that everything you're doing is to get people into that top 20%. So I applaud you for that.
I'm up front. I say that 80% of people I train will never do what I teach, because they don't want to change. Because let's be honest, I like golf, but I don't want to be a professional golfer. So that means I'm never, ever, ever going to put in the effort it requires to be able to play at an international tournament. I accept that. Most salespeople accept, I do enough to get by. They're what I call an at leaster. They operate at a 7 out of 10. Yeah? At least I just hit target. At least I just missed target. At least I'm able to pay my bills this month. And at least is fine for them. That's cool. I have no problem with at leasters. The world needs at leasters. But I don't want to be one.
And nor do I, and nor do I'm guessing the people that are tuned into this. So, Benjamin, I know you've got to run. I thank you a ton, just not just for this call, but just for all the great content that you're putting out there. I'm going to leave an outro after we jump on this off this call, and I know you're going to do a promo code for one of your boot camps, so I'll mention that as well. But really, just do want to thank you for everything you're putting out, and really encourage people to go and check out your YouTube channel as well.
Thank you. Yes, yeah. Check me on YouTube, UK's Most Hated Sales Trainer. Website, same name, ironically, UK's Most Hated Sales Trainer. LinkedIn, UK's Most. Yeah, I think you've got the pattern here. You'll find me if you really want to.
And I'll put links to all that in the description as well.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, Chad.
Likewise. Thank you so much, Benjamin. Really do appreciate it. You can probably see why I'm such a big fan of Benjamin's now. Loved that interview. Loved all the insights that he had into it. I've purchased some of his stuff before. I've done the boot camp on cold calling. He's actually giving in a discount code as well. If you just type in real estate, I believe it's $150 you get off that course. Again, I've done it. It's awesome course. He's also doing a live call on June 28th. I'll leave a link to that below as well. And I'd highly recommend reaching out and connecting with him on LinkedIn, subscribing to his YouTube channel. He's gold, as you could appreciate. Even in that 35-40 minutes we got to chat, his content is no BS. I absolutely love following him and seeing his new videos come out. So Benjamin, thank you once again for taking the time to do this, and thanks for everybody for watching.